Hello, so today what I'm doing is I'm going to give you a quick like GoPro type of thing on how I went about making a slime. Basically I wanted to try out I think it's called Kira? I'm not really certain what it's actually called. So I wanted to try out this new software because I'm kind of tired of using an in-browser pixel art software, even though I do love it and I probably will go back to it for some projects which are more complicated, simply because I'm comfortable to it. I really wanted to go on to a software for once, so this is my attempt on that. And so what I thought about doing in this software was I would simply make a squashy, stretchy, not cube, slime. So that was the concept of the video, is that I'm just going to be drawing a squashy slime, and you're going to see my process on how I do it. So basically, if you don't know, that squashing and stretching is one of the 7, I believe, or one of the 15 principles of animation. It basically allows you to add physics to your world, so it shows when something hits the ground, like my slime will, it should squash, and when it's gonna jump, it's gonna stretch outwards. It's a lot of way of adding a lot of emote to your characters, and it's just quite a simple and beginner thing to do for a new software. So I started doing that. As you can see on the screen, I've already put down some some circles. These are 15 pixels by 15 pixels. This is simply because I think that's a good radius, to be honest. I didn't know if I was actually going to do some details into them, but I did end up going in to do some details. And so yeah, that's what this was about. Something which I didn't really enjoy is having to learn all new hotkeys, all new software. I didn't really like that. I found it quite, not hard, actually yeah, quite hard and quite confusing, to be honest. For instance, in Kira, what I want to do is I want to get the highlight tool, the select tool, so I can go over an area and select it. But I don't know the hotkey for that. At some point, I don't know if we've already passed it or not, I actually just started pressing every single button on my keyboard to see what I was doing. While I do own a tablet, I was actually using my mouse for this, simply because I need to learn the hotkeys, and it's a lot easier to have my keyboard and mouse plugged in when learning hotkeys, rather than my tablet, which only has a select amount of hotkeys I can wire up. I eventually did figure out the hotkeys. I didn't figure out which one was select, so I kept on having to choose select, and then I just ended up pressing T for me to be able to move it to. I found out B is brush, F is fill, V is a vertical line, which is something I actually really struggled with. Something I found out is that randomly my pen would just stop working, either because it just stopped highlighting a colour, or for some other reasons, like I was either selected on a layer. I got really confused drawing it. There's also a thing that you can't unselect something unless you got the select tool active. So there's a lot of times I was just trying to write or draw and I just couldn't draw because it only let me draw in a selected area. And I would like try and click to unselect, but it just wouldn't let me. So yeah, it's not bad, it's just different. That's not the issue, but that's the thing with this, it's just that it's different. And I have to learn a way around it. And it's actually quite fun getting to learn it. It's also quite a good excuse to learn a new software, because then you have kind of a reasoning for if your pixel art or any other type of art is shit. You could just be like, oh well, new software, innit? I don't know why I was racing, but I was racing so much through my sentences, so I just stopped breathing for some reason. I don't really know. At this point, I tried to actually add some memento to my characters. At this point, I tried to actually add... actually, I haven't really talked over much on what I was doing. I originally put down all the circles, though I didn't end up using all of the circles. I already needed to move them. One was already going to be on the floor. Number 1... so my frame 1, so the first slime, actually is kind of the 12th or 11th slime. The way it works is I want it to like be a loop animation. So when he like flattens out, this will be the midpoint and then he'll jump. So there would actually, the one where he's a fully normal circle on the ground is actually going to be like number 9. Then he's going to be really squashed down, and then he's going to be frame 1. So hopefully that can kind of explain to you the loop I was going for. Yeah, and so basically what it had to do is I had to then draw it in the air. I didn't actually like how much of in the air this was. I felt like it was barely in the air. I kind of wanted to give him like a little bit of a cartoony jump. So I ended up going back and making it a lot higher. I think I put him 16 pixels in the air, then 24 pixels, then 25, and then 26. And then he started to decline. So the idea is, what I was going for at the moment was a slightly squashed slime on the floor, elongated slime in the air, and then as he gets further up he becomes more solid mass, so he's less elongated. And then he's a regular circle, then he becomes a squash 1, as if he's like reached the high as he can go. He then squashes up his body and then longs down, and then it would kind of be like copy and paste the last 3 in front of us, and then add a circle on the ground and then an elongated one out. Yeah, so my whole process is kind of just learning krita? I can't actually remember what it's called right now. But yeah, it's actually really good. It's not built for pixel art, I don't think. It's not as good as Sprite as far as I'm aware, but definitely a really good free alternative. The canvas size I'm working on is 144 by 144, but actually coming up soon is actually where I elongated it to 177 by 144. So I actually had the width for it to be like visually show you how I kind of want the animation to go. While it was fun to use the new software, there's also quite a lot of things I don't know how to do, such as I want to just change the vertical angle of something on screen. I just could not figure out how to do it, so I ended up just having to kind of just change it myself, which was kind of annoying, but everything comes within time. There's actually 3 distinct pixel art brushes in krita, can't remember. The first one is a 1 pixel long brush, which you can alter the size, which is actually really good because in the previous software I had, you had a mixture of a 1, 2x2, 3x3 or a 4x4 brush, which was cool, but it didn't really do this type of stuff I want. And now the fact that I can actually do like solid blobs, I feel like can help me out with a lot of structures. Like a lot of my stuff, I might just do like a rough outline, like a rough sketch of it, and then just be like, yeah, done, cool. And like, I don't know about you, but my work process is kind of like, I'll do a rough sketch of it, and then I'll either leave it, or I'll carry on depending on how I want. Like a lot of my pixel art, like my superhero comic, which is coming up soon, called The Real American, is actually coming out, is actually built on this idea. It's like I was doing some Homelander fan art, and yeah, and then I ended up leaving it, and then I ended up bringing it back for this. But I've changed it quite a lot. Something I don't like though is the grids. Obviously this wasn't really meant for pixel art, so the fact to use the grid, you actually need to zoom in order to see the grid, which, you know, got bad and good things to it. I didn't really like it because I kind of wanted to zoom in without seeing the grid. I don't tend to work off the grid unless I'm doing numbers by numbers, and I'm not really a math person, so I wasn't actually doing this mathematically. I know that you can do this mathematically. For instance, if you start with a 15 by 15 circle and you want to elongate it, you take away 2 from the sides, you take away 1 from each side, so taking away 2 in total, and you add that existing mass on the top. Something which I'm going to tell you to do, and which I sadly didn't do, was that when doing pixel art like this, definitely do not create mass out of nothing. I'm pretty certain if you count the pixels on screen, why it might look right and why it might look okay, it definitely isn't, because sure, it's fine for like a sketch, but what I definitely think you need to do, especially for projects like these, is you need to put more of an awareness into it. Now that probably sounds really confusing and you might not actually know what I mean, What I'm trying to say is you don't want to start off with your 15 by 15 slime suddenly becoming 20 by 20 pixels. Though I don't think any of my changes are that drastic, I do think it definitely does exist, especially with when he reaches the air. No part of me believes that he has that. So it needs to contain not the same radius, but he needs to keep the same amount of pixels within it, or else he's suddenly just gaining pixels out of nowhere. I think this works with a lot of other stuff as well. Also, if you're wondering why I keep bringing up this like color wheel type thing, is purely by accident, to be honest with you. The way my last stuff will work is it will be right click to import color 1 and left click to input color 2. I simply have no fucking idea how to input color 2 in this idea. You can kind of see me at some points just looking through some of the menus and all that, just kind of actually understanding it. Something I do wish Kira or Krita would do is that when you hover over a tool, it tells you the hotkey, which it doesn't. And so you do kind of just gotta press every fucking button on your keyboard, hoping that none of them are 2 buttons at once. Which I'm pretty certain the select one is. Something I'm thinking off the top of my head. Maybe it's Control S, Shift S, Caps F, Tabs S. I don't know. I think select kind of makes sense to be S. But I kind of got used to this after I was drawn in. It was kind of just going to the select bar and then going and pressing T. So it kind of became like this quick and easy rhythm actually, and I did actually enjoy this, and I do think I'm going to work on this a lot more. I was recently working on a project within it when I was just making some silhouettes, not to actually make anything with, at least not yet, but I was just like plopping down some silhouettes because I really enjoy actually having a proper pen tool, and it's really nice. As I was talking about brushes earlier, there's actually a lot of there's 3 brushes. One which is a much larger, it's a 32 by 32 pixel pen, which allows you just to put huge dollops on. Personally, I don't really like 32 by 32, I think it's way too big. If I was using one of these big brushes, I think it would probably be around 10 by 10 or something like that, but either way, you can just make your normal brush and size that up. It's really simple. And then there's also like a little shade brush. And then there's also like a little shade brush, which I ended up using a lot and actually really enjoyed. I didn't end up using it for this project, but I did end up using it for some of my silhouettes. But yeah, this isn't really sponsored or anything, I just want to talk about it. There's also some pixel art color palettes already embedded, which is the color palette I'm using. Though it doesn't got the original Game Boy color palette, which kind of makes me sad, or at least not that I could find. What I'll probably do is I'll probably download it and just import it. Though I don't know how to import color palettes into this just yet. But as soon as I learn everything and learn all the hotkeys through like YouTube tutorials, I'm pretty certain I'll start doing that a lot more. So what I'm doing at this point is I'm simply enough just colouring in the slime. I want to make him look like a little character. Just a cute little slime character. I was hoping at the time that this would actually be one of my commissioned work. Though I actually, before I got down to recording this audio, I just got told they don't want it as the commissioner, they don't like the character. So what I'm doing is I'm just colouring in the character at this point. But I don't actually really like the colouring what I'm doing. I think I did the colouring wrong. What I think I should have done is I should have done the tone lighter and then done this dark purple as the shadow design. And I do end up going back to fixing that, but I don't think it's overly need to show you. What I end up doing with the lighting is I do end up using this like bright white lighting effect to do this. Oh my god, I really struggled to record this video. I don't know, there's something about using new software that just makes you really uneasy. For the last one, there was kind of like I know no one used it, so the fact I used it and the fact I knew so much about it and the fact I could make so much art really made me feel special. And so I'm going to keep doing that. I'm going to keep doing it, especially with some of my other projects. I have these other ideas coming up. Again, live streams will eventually happen. I just need to figure out how to do it. But yeah, at this point I'm just going to go over every single slime and add this color, which was basically a black outline, dark purple though turned to light purple, darker purple as a highlight, and then for lighting I would end up doing a pure white. But it wasn't actually pure white, it was like hinted with green, because I think personally when I go for a black, I always choose my blacks with a hint of purple, and I always choose my greens with a hint of green. No, my blues with a hint of... I always choose my whites with a hint of green. God, I'm fucking struggling. Let's just show you the final result, shall we?